Ready? Good evening. I'd like to call to order the special council meeting. It is September 5th, 6:31 p.m. The purpose for the meeting tonight is there was information that was brought to the city about a week, 10 days ago from the county with some ideas on what may be in the offering for the intersection at 371 and 77 and 13. And this meeting is to bring the council up to speed with what is going on as well as the citizens. So that's our purpose tonight. I understand Ron Bray is here and going to do a presentation for us. Is there anything, Jenny, that you wanted to say or do before Ron starts?
And not too much. Good evening, City Council members. In your packet, I included a short memo just to provide a little bit of the history of the last 10 days of the staff getting in the information from the county and WSB and the few things, the steps we've taken since then to gather more information and then to lead us up to the meeting tonight. So just wanted to make sure that you had that in your packet. That might help to give you some context. But I did ask Ron to kind of lead off the meeting tonight to give you some of the history and where the county has been with this project over the spring, summer months, and just to get the information out there and then probably answer questions at that point.
Okay, thank you. So, what I'm hoping that we get out of the meeting tonight, excuse me, is to hear from Ron, learn what exactly the county is thinking about doing at the moment. And then I think the city will certainly want to have some discussion and to decide, because the city is going to be part of this, not only with possibly reworking some streets or service drives, but also money. So I think after the meeting tonight, my thoughts would be that we would probably be looking to have discussion in the city realm to kind of get people's opinions, ideas, and look to then re-engage the county and see where this goes. So with that, Ron, I'll turn it over to you, and when you're done, we'll ask questions and so on. Thank you.
There we go. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of the council staff. It's good to be here tonight. I know the development in the revision to the Sportland Corner Cafe corner has kind of spurred some hasty conversation. So we're probably jumping into the process a little quicker. We had actually planned on meeting with the city to discuss this at a time very soon, and then meet with the public and the business owners to go through what we're proposing, get comments on that, and we're still planning to do that. So just a caution tonight, and I know for the public that's here, we still plan to meet with all the public, and the plan is not set in stone by any means. So just to caution that, but this is a good way. It's kind of the chicken or the egg, I'll say. Not to use that cliche, but.
Could you introduce yourself to the public?
Yes. First, I'll introduce who I'm working for, Crow Wing County. Steve Stroshine is the project manager, engineer with Crow Wing County. I am Ron Bray, transportation engineer with WSB and Associates, a consulting engineer that they've retained to study the intersection. So with that, we are here to talk tonight. So by no means is the plan set in stone. However, it is moving for an intersection revision toward the summer of 2019 construction. So I'll go through where we're at with that. So just an overview, we are looking at the intersection of 77 and 13, and we're keeping that basically to the signalized approaches, and it'll go from the water slide back around the corner to the east of Schaefer's with some revisions to the roadway and to the signal system. Not much change to Highway 371. So as we look at the big area, you can see there is a lot of vacant land, and actually, even though there seems like there's a lot of development in that corner, there is potential for a lot more, even with the Grandview development that's happening to the west in that area. And your access on 371, full access, is currently about 2,000 feet north and south of this intersection. So that's something to keep in mind, with a couple right-in, right-outs in between that. So we are working with Crow Wing County. We started last winter with the traffic study intersection, doing the surveys. We're reviewing the existing traffic. Looking at the existing geometrics, there's no left turn accommodation on the county roads at all. We're reviewing the accidents, crashes, working with, looking at future traffic and development potential and developing future needs. And probably the key to this process is accommodating a phased approach. And I'll get more into what that means. So existing traffic volumes, in our counts this summer, relatively came up with around the same numbers as 77 to the west currently is about 5,000 vehicles per day on the average, and a little over 2,000 to the east on County Road 13. Traffic on 371 is about 18,000 vehicles per day south on an average day of the intersection, dropping down to about 15,500 to the north. So if we look at capacity based on those numbers, basically the intersection's operating most of the time or during the peak hour of each day at a level of service D and E. And of course, we kind of compare that to your report card. So you can get by with a D. E is actually working towards not passing, and F is a failure. So as we look at the capacity of the existing intersection, it's at a F in 20 years from now with the additional traffic potential growth. So basically destined to fail in 20 years with its operation. If we look at the capacity analysis just at Smiley Road intersection, currently that intersection where it connects in is operating at level of service D by the Old Sportland Corner Cafe and Schaefer's. And in 2038, that also will progress to an E and F for operation. So not great news for 20 years from now. So looking at that, we have a lot of backup from 371 now through Smiley Road. That's fairly common, especially on the busy weekends we have in the recreational area. There's a lot of maneuvering, weaving around Smiley Road and even on the west side of the intersection by the Holiday, etc. And we want to work to move the intersection. That intersection is very close to 371. That's causing a lot of that problem. There's very short stacking distance. We want to work in that 20-year time frame to move those intersections away from Highway 371. We need to get them back a little bit. And there is potential for roundabouts at the new intersections, both east and west of 371. And we want to work with the city to develop a new access plan for existing and future. And I don't know exactly what that means yet, but we got some ideas. So this is approaching on the Holiday side, looking at Schaefer there. The big issue is there is no left turn lanes today. There is no left turn accommodation on the traffic signal, and it's common that people are confused on how to make those left turns against each other with the through traffic coming. And frankly, sometimes you can't tell if the person's going straight or turning, so that adds confusion and delay. So even when MnDOT does give us the green light to cross that road, there's problems and confusion. And that's the big goal of this project for 2019, is to work to modify the signal. MnDOT side is actually pretty good. They're actually carrying pretty good time on their road, so they have good capacity on 371 for the most part. So it is the access that's suffering at this time. Just another shot at Holiday, very busy center, good attraction for fuel and coffee, etc. That place is very crowded a lot of the time. Another shot, actually it's catching the cafe there in the northeast corner. Just some more shots there in case we need to come back to these around by the church and up the crossroads in that area, Smiley Road. So what we came to the county with is, and I actually have some more of these maps, I can pass these around. For the council, maybe you can share and take one of each. I know Jenny had given you some. We realize we're going to need a phased approach to this construction. We are not going to come in 2019 and change all the access and move the frontage roads. So our layout developed actually provided for left turn channelization with some raised median for a short distance that would go back to Smiley Road intersection and back to the Holiday driveway. And then we'd do the rest with striping and channelization. But the key here is we'd get the left turn lanes for 371, both eastbound and westbound, along with the left turn phasing on the signal. This intersection does require 3 lanes of approach. There'd be a right turn lane, a through lane, and a left turn lane. And we'd have 2 lanes on the opposite side going away from the intersection. So 5 lanes on each side in the immediate area of 371. And that pretty much carries through to the future concept. What is more temporary is everything behind probably the Holiday driveway and Smiley Road on the east side. But this would actually take care of the immediate concern and congestion and confusion. The one thing that's happened is with the redevelopment of the Sportland Cafe corner moving at a fast pace, we did start looking at ways to modify the access into the church and the Sportland Corner Cafe at Smiley Road. And that's probably created some confusion and controversy immediately. But again, I'm here to assure you we're going to work with both the church and the development at Sportland Corner on that process. Well, actually, this was our more simplified approach that we had prior to knowing about the redevelopment of the Sportland Corner. So after that, we actually added looking at Smiley Road now. So all this leads to what's more important. What is the ultimate build-out? It will limit access probably between 2 intersection areas. We're looking back by the water slide in that area with a median, so potentially roundabouts. It could be a regular intersection also. But the thing we found with the roundabouts is that it provides good access for intersections that do not meet signal warrants, along with providing a U-turn capability, very nice for the right-in, right-out accesses, such as Holiday and what would be Schaefer and Smiley Road potentially, or an access to the new bank in the northeast corner. So I think the key is, when does this happen? Maybe it is 20 years out, maybe it's sooner. It depends on development. But we know to the southwest corner, you have a lot of potential for added traffic coming in at that intersection. To the north, reconnecting Wendy's Drive along with development to the north at Goldberg's there, all that property and property owners. And to the southeast, going down along behind Schaefer's and in that area also, and going east out on 13. So is this the future picture? It's probably something to shoot for and to modify and work toward that. But if we don't start working now, it's going to be impossible to. You're not going to do this in 1 year, change everybody's access and move frontage roads. So looking further, what's next? We'll continue to coordinate with the city of Nisswa and work on a plan and a solution for 2019 construction and for the future. I think it's good to get something set in place for the future. We do have meeting requests into MnDOT. They're where we're working on the intersection, but we haven't shown them our plans yet. We're waiting to get a meeting with them. They're very busy with construction right now and landscape projects out here. But just keep moving on that. But and then we are sitting down with the property owners one-on-one. And I'm going to have Steve pass the sign-up sheet. If you are a business here and want to get together, we're going to be doing that, so it'll make it easy for contact. And we'll set up a meeting with you to sit down and talk about access for 2019 and for the future. Of course, the county board, excuse me, the Crow Wing County Board has the ultimate decision on the intersection improvement with the city's blessing. And then we want to work again with the developer in that northeast corner. How is that Smiley Road connection going to happen on the interim, and how is it going to happen for the future? We wanted them to be aware of what we're looking at. As you back up to this ultimate design, I think we had to kind of unveil our plan early to them, just to let them know that potentially the access they were looking at Smiley Road would be a right-in, right-out. And then I know that can change the developer's plan completely on how they want that to look, because they're going to spend several millions of dollars on a new building and a layout, and I don't think they want to know their access is changing immediately. So it was good to meet with them on that. The contacts again are Steve Stroshine with Crow Wing County Project Engineer and myself, Ron Bray. I have my cards with me too, so again, sign up if you want to get together and talk about this, and don't hesitate to call. And again, thank you for this time.
Any comments by the council? Any questions? Start out with?
I have some basic ones, but I'd rather listen to the people in the audience first.
Okay, Gary? Same?
Same.
John?
Yep. Let's hear it.
Let's open up
Mr.
microphone.
Mayor, can I ask a quick question? I think it might help. Please?
I'm sorry, didn't
That's
ask
okay. Ron, could you or Steve speak to why 2019 with the rest of the County Road 13 projects that are planned? I think that's timing
yes.
is part of that, so I think that might help give them a perspective.
So actually, the county currently has 3 projects programmed for County Road 13 to the east. So this being the first one, 2019 would be the intersection improvement, just because they want to get to that confusion and the safety and hopefully reduce the crashes out there. There are other pieces further east on 13. I don't know the exact limits of that. That'll be a reconstruct and shoulder widening to the east in 2020. So they want to get this intersection done before they start working out east on 13. And then the next project will come from that one into this improvement that we're talking about here at the intersection. So there is 3 projects planned back to back for 2019, 2020, and 2021, all on 13 to connect over to CASA 4.
Okay, thank you.
Good point. Thank you.
And just as a side note, the widening on 13, would that be somewhat similar to 18? How the changes at 18 happened this year?
Well, it would be more of reconstructing that road and actually building shoulders. There's not 6-foot shoulders.
Okay.
So, a little different.
Sure. But the idea would be wider shoulders.
It's the same thing for everybody else.
Anyone who has questions from the community for Ron? Anyone have some comments? Please come up to the microphone and state your name and ask away.
I'm Dale Goodhue, live on West Linden, go through that intersection all the time. This afternoon, I was biking around the lake, and the end of my ride, I'm on 13, crossing 371, going straight, and there's cars coming toward me. And I jump on that bike and pedal like crazy because I figure I got the right of way. They got to wait, but I never know if they will. I would love to see an improvement, an extra lane if I'm turning, if I'm going straight, and lights that would control that. I realized this afternoon as I was going through it, maybe you're stupid to hope that they will see you and know that you have the right of way. So I drive through it in a car as well. So I think it would be a wonderful improvement. Thanks.
Thank you, Dale. Who else? A lot of people in the audience. There must be some questions.
Pastor Drew Bakken from Lutheran Church of the Cross, senior pastor there. And as I'm looking through on the phase construction on there, with that jut-off that's coming in towards the new bank that'll be happening there on the Sportland corner there, that addition that is coming through our church parking lot, in which we will lose about 30 spaces in there. I did have a chance to talk with Ron earlier this afternoon, but I also know that as that road ends there, is there talk amongst the city about purchasing the rest of the Crossroads roadway, since the church does own that property and more traffic will be going through there. Is there talk amongst the city council of purchasing the rest of the Crossroads property? And then the other question I have is on the site plan here in the green, there is a proposed bike lane. How much will we lose at Lutheran Church of the Cross in the future if that bike lane continues on down 13, so that when we start looking at the building that happens on 13, we can understand what our new parking situation will look like? Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. You know, I think those are good questions, and, you know, as of right now, there's really been no discussion about those things, but those things will be looking to be addressed in the upcoming weeks and months, and we will certainly see that, I'm sure the county will too, see that you're notified and that you know when all the meetings are happening so that you can be involved and understand what's looking to take place and be able to give your input.
Thank you.
Please.
Hi, I'm Mike Gardner. I live in the Crossroad Townhomes, and we just found out about this 2 days ago, all of us, and I can understand the county part. What worries me is if they keep extending that road past our residents, that people will be shopping in Schaefer's going north, coming right by my front yard. And so I hope that there's some way that that's not going to happen, that when people shoot to the north, that they're going to go back on Smiley and not down Crossroads right by our yards. So I guess that's our big concern in the Crossroad Townhomes. So, but I guess we're more worried about what you're going to do than what I see what the county is going to do, is regarding the Crossroad Townhome road.
Thank you very much. Valid point. Ted? Okay, very good. Anyone else? Questions, concerns, ideas? Okay.
They can't do the roundabouts now, or is it too much expensive, or what's the problem with that?
No, right now, I would say building the roundabouts require connection to some of the city streets, to the east side of Schaefer's, to the west side of Wendy's. There's some expensive right-of-way to be done with that. We definitely need a longer-term approach to get that budgeted with the city and the county, yes. So, a little expensive for now.
Put all this money in just to redo it.
This will be probably at least a 5-year plus intersection. Like I said, the immediate part of the intersection will be more long-term. The pieces that connect in temporarily will be short-term, and it'll basically be driven by the city and development on how that happens.
Thank you, Ron. We have somebody who has some input for us this evening.
I'm Lois Jensen. I am a resident at Crossroads. I'm also the property manager, and I'm also a member of the church. I appreciate the work that has been done to this point. I believe that the council and the county will do due diligence to look at safety, look at bikers who don't want to get creamed on the intersection, respect people's property and parking areas. I appreciate that we will have the opportunity to meet one-on-one, to share ideas. I believe that you folks sitting behind the desk in front of us are credible, knowledgeable, and you're going to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lois. Anyone else? There will be other meetings and time for input, but if you have some immediate thoughts you'd like to get out, or ideas or concerns, we'd sure like to hear them.
How long will the construction process go for? And once it starts in the summer, are we looking at a year long?
Great question.
We will have to look at staging, and the other thing that with the interim temporary signals that we need to do on that too, so. It would be a minimum of 8 weeks, probably 8 to 12 weeks project, I'd estimate from experience to do that. We'll have to see what MnDOT's conditions are too on how much they want to keep permanent out there at the time, so probably 8 to 12 weeks.
Ron, just any thoughts to share about how traffic will be directed during that construction period? Being, the county will be looking at doing 5 lanes or so. But, it's easy to look at it and say, wow, that looks like it's going to be impassable for X number of weeks. And just initial thoughts about how that might be, or is it too early to?
Yes, well, with construction, I'll make no bones, it's always a bit of a mess, so if we could, I always tell people if we could drop it in with a helicopter, that'd be perfect, but we haven't figured out a way to do that. So with that, on this approach, it would be phased. We'd probably do some temporary widening on one side, and we'd work to get 2 lanes of traffic up on either the north or south side with a temporary signal. So there will be minimal lanes, it'd probably be 2 lanes approach on each, or 2 lanes, 1 approach, 1 away. We'll have to look at that too with the temporary signal, see what we have room for. So we'll be looking at staging it half at a time with temporary signals.
Mm-hmm. And with, being this is quite a busy intersection in the summer and on the weekends, construction work typically doesn't happen on the weekends, and is that correct? Or is it possible because of time frame that there could be construction going on? And then if there isn't, will there try to be 2 lanes operable? I mean, I can certainly see the churches thinking they've got X number of hundred of people on Sundays that want to get in and out, and all the people who live east and west. Just a rough idea what that might look like on the weekends.
We probably would not be working on weekends. We'd probably be limited, probably be shutting down Friday at noon and starting back up on Monday morning. We don't need construction equipment out in the intersection while. In fact, Fridays are kind of crazy all day now with the Thursday night rush. So we'll be looking at that time period, but definitely probably Friday noon till Monday morning will be shut down for construction. And unless there's something they can work on out of the traffic.
Sure. Do you anticipate any just temporary diversions around, or is that, I know this is really early on, but I'm just asking questions.
No, that's a good point. Like I mentioned, there are full access intersections, both 2,000 feet to the north and south. We probably will be looking at some signing and redirecting with that, if it's possible for local access, especially to the businesses. So
okay.
We're doing more and more with business access signing too, so that's been a big issue in the past, and we're working to accommodate them better.
Any thoughts about, will there be any need for any storm sewer?
Oh, definitely. I think Tom can vouch. That intersection floods actually quite often. Storm sewer hasn't been a big deal with all the development that has occurred, and I know the county is actually looking at a ponding area to the east in part of the Grandview, a remnant parcel on the corner that we'll be working with on that, and we'll be looking at a storm sewer that'll probably go east toward that area to try to get rid of some of that water. So we are looking at curb and gutter to help reduce impacts. That means the ditches are mostly going to disappear east and west along 13 and 77. MnDOT will want to keep their ditches open for capacity, but we'll be picking that up and trying to take that to the east more likely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's kind of what I was, in a sense, that's what I was anticipating, because I know when those projects like this happen, there usually is curb and gutter that goes in, and then that kind of creates a need for storm sewer or a collection area. So, Peter, do you have a? Come up to the microphone if you would. And
Peter Mann, a resident. Could you comment more or show the slide, the Holiday gas station entrance off of 77? And is there any, maybe I missed it, but there's been a couple of accidents there because people don't know whether they're turning right into Holiday or they're turning right to get onto 371. and I'm wondering if that has been addressed or could be addressed. I think there was one slide, Jenny, that maybe we should go back to on that.
So basically, with this phase concept, we are keeping it the same currently with the right turn. And there is confusion with people waiting to come out of Holiday, so I think we maybe need to take a closer look at that. If we can get that right turn lane for Holiday, a little short one that's more off to the side. Because I know there's confusion when you come up. Fact is, as I approach that intersection now regularly, I don't even put my signal on until I get past Holiday driveway. Just because everybody's ready to jump out of there, so we'll take a closer look at that. That's a good point. There is some confusion on if the car's actually turning into Holiday or going ahead. Good point.
Anyone else? Please come up to the microphone, and we want to have your words recorded for posterity and history of Nisswa.
This kind of came up to me pretty quick. Mike Sedevy, I live in the area, Aardvark artwork. I do artwork and stuff. And it impacts my property, and I don't want to be a casualty from the progress in Nisswa. I think this is a good thing to do, but it needs to be planned out, and this is happening so fast. Whatever's done next year is going to impact the future development, like what you said, is it 20 years from now or whatever, So whatever decision's made right off the bat here is really going to have a big effect on what goes on. So I sure hope it's thought out well and everything's planned out, but I'm still a little bit vague about what you're planning on doing this year and next year. And it sounds like maybe you don't know for sure. And I think that's probably why we're all here, trying to find out answers. So I guess I'm not really sure. Or maybe you're not sure either.
Well, I think that's fair, Mike. I mean, this is the first just get together to look to get information out, and and for the council. I mean, I don't know. It's possible there's a few business people that know more about this than we do.
Right.
Depending on, I don't know who's been up to City Hall asking questions, and I had heard about it, so I called Jenny and asked her, and she gave me a briefing of what had transpired at the meeting here a while back. And so I thought it was important that we get together for this purpose, just to start the process. So, I would say we're taking the first step. So there's not a lot of discussion that's even been had. We're going to start that process right now moving forward. And, and I think by the sounds of it, the county will probably be leading the way with that to an extent, especially with one-on-one meetings with property owners. And at the same time, the city and the Public Works Council, Planning and Zoning should be involved as well and be updated regularly with whatever's happening. And we'll look to schedule a meeting upcoming here sometime relatively soon. At this moment, I don't have a clue if it's a week or the next council meeting or after that, but we will, I can certainly see this will be a process that over the next 3 to 6 months, I'm not exactly sure what time frames we have to work in. I haven't even asked that question or heard an answer. Ron, kind of, I think what I gathered, he's and indicated that, county and WSB wants the input of the city, needs the input, work together. So there's going to need to be, I would imagine, a series of meetings to bring this together. And, I would like to see those meetings be public so that, all those who are interested can be involved and know what's going on. I personally think that's very important, in our community to have that openness. So I think there's going to be more to come as far as scheduled meetings and so on.
Right. Well, I really do applaud you for having this meeting tonight, because it's come to kind of a shock for a lot of people that all of a sudden this is being planned within the next year, holy cow. So thanks for having this and scheduling this under short notice like this, But the point I want to make is that none of this can be taken lightly, even though there's road improvements that need to be done on County Road 13. There's been a lot of speculation on development on that corner, of course, for years because, Schaefer's, is the spot that kind of got everything going. Sportland Corner, that's been defunct for who knows how many years, seems like forever. But a lot can be done there, and I'm all for the community. I'm all for the development and everything. But whatever is done in this next year is really going to affect the overall development. And I'm concerned that, for one thing, with American National Bank going in on the corner, is definitely going to spur some changes. And okay, we got to make these decisions because there's a ton of money going into that, and it's something the city's been working on for a long time, as far as what to do with that corner. And of course, there's more money in the highway department to do all these road construction things that haven't been done for a long time. But wow, within a year to make a decision that's going to affect the community for the next 20 years or beyond, I certainly don't, I hope you don't take anything lightly, and I just can't see it being done in that short of time, There's a lot of considerations, I'm just a part of it, and I do want the community to grow. That area has a lot of potential for development, and a lot of people have been sitting on their hands for a long time, So I just hope there's plenty of care, but I do really appreciate you holding this meeting tonight, and I think it's a really good move to do that. So I'm here just to listen to information and find out more. There's some of the diagrams I've seen up here that I haven't seen before. The one with the roundabout, well, that puts a few question marks up there for sure, So anyway, that's my concerns at this point. I'll probably have more later, but, I'll definitely be in touch, so.
Well, we as a city, we certainly look forward to you being an active part of this process, all the business people in that neighborhood, because, I've learned oftentimes that when you get more voices involved, more minds involved, sometimes people come up with ideas that nobody else had really thought about.
Well, I guess one quick idea I had from living there, well, I've lived there for 35 years now, That whole intersection is nuts, having this going across the highway in the left turn in the same lane. Everybody that comes and visits or whatever, it's like, what is the deal with that? I never understood why that happened. That would be a quick way, do it tomorrow, change the arrows, It would straighten a few problems off right off the bat. I don't understand, but somebody thought that up, I'm sure there was a reason at the time. But anyway, I got extra paint, I'd be glad to do it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Hello.
Good evening.
I'm Gloria Thomas. I'm secretary for our Crossroads Homeowners Association.
Hi, Gloria.
And the changes at the intersection with the 3 lanes makes lots of sense. I'm loving the right in, right out on Smiley. But my main concern is Crossroads, our road from the church going around our community. And we have Smiley Road as the frontage road, and I just am very concerned that I do not want Crossroads to become a new frontage road. And also, I'm also a member of Lutheran Church of the Cross. And the other thing is, we're not just a Sunday morning church. We have stuff going on all the time. If you're ever there for any of the pageants or, well, Nisswa Stamen, I mean, we are overflowing and taking any more of our parking space. We need every little spot that we can have. So appreciate we'll have our name down for Crossroads for these one-on-one meetings, especially with the, city and county, and to voice your concerns.
Thank you, Gloria. And, I think, part of I would tend to think that, I can't speak for anybody in particular, but as part of this discussion, and as to what may ultimately happen, that, there probably will need to be some discussions about parking at the church, and if there's going to be something given up, how does the process help replenish those in another spot or something along that line? I think that certainly would need to be part of the discussion, because I don't think the city or the county would feel very good about just saying, well, we're going to chop out 30 or 50 of your parking spots. Geez, too bad. Sorry, see you later. Just don't picture that happening.
Well, and then I'm seeing the big intersection, 371, 17, 13, definitely needing to be done, but I'm hoping that we aren't rearranging everything just because we have a bank going in the corner. People can find a way to get into that bank without completely disrupting Crossroads and our church.
Yeah, and to respond to that, I think it's not so. I think the potential redevelopment of the Sportland Corner property did encourage the county to bring something to the city sooner than they were initially thinking. Mm-hmm. But from what I know about other projects in Baxter, Brainerd, and around town, stacking is always an issue. And the frontage road that comes in front of along 371 and into 13 doesn't allow for much stacking. There's only probably 4 cars that can sit at the stoplights from 371 back to that service drive. Mm-hmm. So regardless of whether that property is redeveloped today or in a few years or whatever, I think that stacking issue needs to be addressed, because the traffic is growing every year, and as Ron said, 20 years it's set to fail. So getting getting the entrances back farther away from 371 is ultimately important. Because there's intersections around Baxter where it's like, wow, there's stacking problems, and I've experienced them, and I can see where the confusion comes. So the importance of making traffic work and doing the best with property owners and maintaining their egresses and exits and so on is all part of it. And I'm sure we will have some good discussions about those things, and really encourage everyone, at least 1 or 2 people from each different area, Crossroads, the church, businesses, to be involved with this, because I think that's going to be really very important to get the input.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Connie Johnson-Peterson, and we just moved to Crossroads. And I guess I understand the intersection part when, we just moved up from the busy cities to have a little more quiet. My biggest concern is the future in that road. We're next to Mike and Marlene, so we're like the third house in. And right now, we get lots of noise still from 371, which we knew, but we kept looking at Crossroads and deciding if we wanted to, and then this house came up again, and we chose to buy it, mainly because it was off Smiley Road, not the frontage road, and that, Crossroads was in the back, and we wouldn't have that traffic. And I think that we'll really notice that, being so close to that road, if it extends up and becomes more of the frontage road. And I guess I just want to say I'm not real fond of that idea, and may have made us make a different choice if we had known. Mm-hmm. So, and we love our area. We're also part of the church. We love our neighbors, and it's a great area, but additional traffic, it's not what I'm hoping for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dale?
Thought. With 2 lanes going each way, if the right lane is straight and turn, and the left lane is only turn, just by changing the arrows on the street and the lights, you would eliminate a lot of the problem, the current problem. There's other problems down the line, but you would change right away the dangerous business of can I turn left or not? Can I go forward or not? That change could be made relatively quickly and would at least eliminate what I think is the worst immediate problem. There's lots of problems in the future, but might give us a little more time to plan the future.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, hearing none, we'll take questions again. If you'd like to speak, raise your hand. But go to council and for any input.
Well, if you're confused and didn't know about this, we didn't know that much about it either. I only learned about it about a little over a week ago, and I said, oh, that's interesting. And in front of me right now, I have 4 different plots in front of me. One is called Phase 1 Construction. The other one's Phase 1 Construction Alternate 1. Another one is City of Nisswa draft potential drawn by staff. And I have the 4th one, Ultimate with roundabouts. Obviously, I haven't had time to review them. I just very cursory look right now. I see some comments which are more of an engineering type of comment. I won't take the time for right now. But I have a couple of questions of Steve, because you're from the county. On a project like this is a county project, correct?
Correct.
Tell me then what you expect the city to do for a county project. What's our involvement?
What is your involvement? Well,
Steve, can you come up to the mic, please? Thanks.
you know, I think as we were looking at this intersection, there's some immediate needs that we discussed tonight, but there's also future needs. So really, we want to work with the city to get the right decisions in place now so that when the future development comes in, we have a master plan moving forward where we can accommodate that traffic.
I guess my concern is how much are you expecting the city to pay to make your project work? I understand that the city has some skin in the game, and that's not unrealistic, but I've heard some stories that you're looking at large amounts of money from us to complete a county plan, and I'm just wondering if you could illuminate me a little bit more.
Sure. The county has a cost share policy, and really the one item I think that the city would take a 50% share in on this project would be on the curb and gutter. So any areas that have curb and gutter in this project would have a 50% cost share with the city. But
Curb and gutter is one thing. How about land acquisition, easement acquisitions?
I don't see that the city would take any cost share in land acquisition along the 13 corridor or the 77 corridor. It would be more or less if the city said we want to extend some of these service roads, then possibly the city would have share in that. Absolutely. But immediately, I don't think there would be a huge need for that. I mean, if Crossroads was extended, that would be where I would see there would be right away. For the
So
city
are you giving us an option, or are you saying this is what has to be done?
Well, I think what we're saying is ultimately in the future, we'd like to see the connection being in that location. But I think interim, I think there's an option in front of you that just has it as an access for the church and for the bank.
Well, the reason I asked the question about how much involvement you're expecting from the city, that means we have to budget in advance, And Jenny over there goes into conniptions when she doesn't know how much money to put into certain funds and what our levy has to be in order to get that money. So I'm very concerned about how much you're expecting us to pay and in what time frame, because that goes on the property taxes of the citizens here. We need to know that in advance so we can plan intelligently. And we need to know in advance, so if we don't agree with you, we can object. I asked Commissioner Teedy about a week ago, I said, what legislative authority is given to the county to make the cities pay for part of your county projects? He told me there's no legislation that allows that. It's just a county policy. And I told him, you can change policy real easy, can't you? He smiled. But I'm concerned about the cost to the city and realizing that some things need to be done. I understand that. But I just want to make sure that we're on top of what the numbers are and what's needed and what's going to be torn up in 2 years to put in alternate 3 or whatever, things like that.
Yeah, I think if I could, go ahead.
I was
Go ahead.
just going to, and we are moving into budget time
Right.
now.
And I can quickly
So-
respond to that. In the past, we've worked with a lot of cities. We've given them a 2 or 3 year window to pay that back. Basically, we would put the money up front, give you an opportunity to budget for that. So it wouldn't be pay everything the same year.
Okay, that's a good piece of information.
Well,
so if I could, Don,
Yeah.
something, what I believe I was hearing is phase one. I mean, we have four
right.
ideas here, but they're not necessarily four different ideas. They're some of it's phases.
Variations.
Well, phases. So there's phase one, which would be very basic. And if I just had to take a guess, please correct me. But they're probably in phase one, probably not a lot of city dollars needed to do phase one.
That's correct.
But then somewhere in phase 2, 3, over the next 2 to 5 years, that's when these access points that would likely be curbed in right now, for lack of a better way of saying it, the county would be looking for input from the city as to, are you solid with these? Are you okay with these? And then the city would need to decide then, going off of those, what direction what path they're going to take, what's that going to cost, and that would be part of next. It would be initial planning, but cost to be a couple years down the line.
Well,
Does that make sense?
I think there's really just one project here, and we really want to get those access points in the right spot so that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, whenever, say, the ultimate design comes in, they're in the right spot initially, and then, we can plan for that future project eventually. So I think, I think we're talking phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, or something like that, but it's really just one project. It's a phase 1. It's the immediate needs right now, and so that's really getting those access points in the right spot and getting those lanes widened. And that would be the cost participation that the city would have to, participate in, the 50% on just the curb and gutter.
Of the 4 maps that we have in front of us today,
Yeah,
what is your preference?
I don't think we're at that point right now.
You're not at?
What we're looking at is, there is only one project, and probably to clarify for Steve is, the county has their 5-year plan. This is in that. There is no other immediate intersection improvements currently in the 5-year plan, so.
So the roundabout idea is.
The roundabout is
a drawing, but it's not part of this at this point
No.
in time.
So the concept is fix the signal, fix the intersection. Like I said, we'll get, our focus mainly is between the Holiday Access and Smiley Road. And then we're going to temporarily connect in back there and keep those impacts minimal. We will continue to work with the city and the developer, however, on that northeast corner, because I know how they lay that out and how they get access will impact this project. So really, you're only looking at a project that's focused between the Holiday Access and Smiley Road. Phase 1, that's all that's in the 5-year plan. Anything beyond that would have to be approved by the county board to come back and do other projects right
So
now.
with the, go ahead, Doug.
Well, I think for me, the issue is with the Smiley Road portion and how that looks and how's that going to impact the church and the TIF district and everything else. So that's mainly what I'm looking at right now.
Correct.
So you're saying for next year, they're not really going to get into that too much?
Well, we're gonna work with the city and developer and see where that goes. It may not happen in 2019, and it may, if things can be worked out
Yeah,
for
so-
just that connection. So we have added that. Again, our main focus is to accomplish this, which has a lot less yellow on it.
The reason I express concern over that particular portion of the project is the developer for the bank is going to be coming to the Planning and Zoning Commission with the drawings for the building and the parking and the entrance and exits and everything, drive-throughs. We need to know as much information as we can get to help him and to help the church and get the right-of-way to see if we can shoehorn all that stuff in. So the sooner we get all the information from you, the better off we are. And I expect we get that information from the developer probably in the next 2 months, roughly, because they want to start something in the spring.
We'll be developing that together. We'll be working with your staff, with the developer and the county together. So I look forward to bringing that solution back to you as a group, not just the county. The county really could just move on with what they have, but in recognizing the redevelopment and the future and the amount of money they're putting in that corner, we thought it best to jump in and let them know what we're thinking and what the city's future plan could be. So with that, I'm hoping we can work together to bring that solution back to you, not just the county bringing that solution back.
If I'm not mistaken, as I look at this, Ron and Steve, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears to me like in this phase 1 that the Smiley Road service drives on the south side of 13 and the north side will continue to access as they currently are for a period of years to come?
Correct.
So that's not actually going to change immediately. If I don't want to be putting words in your mouth, but looking at the drawing, but it looks like the future stacking plans could be that those 2 access points, Smiley Road, will likely need to change somewhere in the next 20 years.
Correct.
5 years, 20 years, or whatever the period is. But it's not part of what is looking to be done in 2019. Changing,
Correct.
I mean, terminating those before they reach 13.
Our project till a few weeks ago is what you exactly said.
Okay.
The other improvements would be 5 to 20 years out. And they're outside of the current 5-year plan. So, but I'll just clarify that with the fact that you do have a development, you have an active developer, city staff is interested on how this works, and so we'll work collectively and collaborate on what that solution may be for 2019. And bring that back to the council as a group.
Yep, thank you. Gary, John? Yes. Sure, please.
Hello and good evening. I am Patrick Smith and I'm with American National Bank, and this is my 3rd time here in the last 6 months, and prior to that I don't think I'd ever been here. So the tricky part of where we suddenly find ourselves is, we're looking to be part of the community, and that's still the primary goal. And we're now totally focused on this project because now we are the owners of this property. So Ron, the county, all of this, just like it's new to all of you, it's brand new to us as well. I mean, we've been working on this project for quite some time, but all of these new aspects to the project are absolutely brand new. So we're trying to design a project right now that not only works for the property as it's laid out, but for the long term. And I think we're all hearing, you know, there's a lot of loose ends with regards to the long term. So I guess the thing I can say is I am very impressed with both the cities, the county, WSB. We all have at this point in time, we are really working together to get this figured out. And to the extent we can get together even more as groups of people and maybe even subgroups of people. For example, we have this roadway running north and south between our property and the church that is very critical. We need to get it figured out. So to the extent we can meet as a group and talk through those issues, I think we can. I think there's answers. There's answers that lie in discussion. And I think it lies on all sides of the roadway. I think Schaefer's has the same issue, and I think if you go over to the other side of the road, you'll find all the same issues. Ours are maybe pushing all of this, and I do understand that, but certainly it's not our project that's pushing the changes that are coming with the roadway. It came as a complete shock to me within a week of when I was planning to close on this transaction. So anyway, we're here in a complete spirit of cooperation and recognizing that that's where I feel all of us are at this point in time. So to the extent we can be part of the solution, that's exactly where we want to be.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
I should have brought this up first. I guess the map that scares us the most is a city proposed new road. This makes it look like your crossroads is going to be redone, and it's going to be a road that they'll be accessing the back of the businesses. So I guess who proposed this road?
Well, and I would say, that was probably from city staff. But again, keep in mind that this is super early in the process. And there's ideas that are out there, but there's no decision, no direction.
Like I said, when we saw this, whoa, it's like, okay, thank you.
No, yeah, it is going to be a process, and I don't think there's any predetermined answers. And from what I'm hearing from Ron with WSB and Steve is, in a sense, they want to hear what the city wants, what the city's ideas are, and if we're okay as a city with these access points being created in the curb for the future. Whether anything ever happens with it, or it's a few years down the line or 25 years down the line, that's to be determined. I can see the area around the bank probably is going to need a little bit more decisions than the other areas. But I don't know that street would necessarily have to be run any farther than the bank property if it is at all. But that's all part of the process that we're going to be looking at. I haven't heard anything about the service drive being eliminated, unless am I missing anything there? The current service drive along 371 going north, Smiley Road, being eliminated. I mean, I could see at some point it'll be terminated so it doesn't connect to 13. But is there...
There were discussions, more ideas, and trying to figure out how that redesign would work. And so part of that was if we took out access, how do we then create a new access? So
Sure.
so that was the
But there's no...
other version of, more versions that you try to comb through to figure out the ideas. So that was the reason for that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But at this point, is there any mandate by the county or MnDOT that service drive has to be eliminated?
No.
Right.
No, there is none.
Could MnDOT possibly give you some directive on what they would like to see there? Is that a potential?
They will give me directive.
So
Yes,
can tell
they
you,
do.
They do not like access this close to their main intersection, but
that-
the fact is, that's the way it's growing.
that right-of-way that's indicated on the map in the green, that's MnDOT's right-of-way, that's not City of Nisswa.
There's a mix. MnDOT has some and the city has some. So that corner
Well, any of
that cuts across Smiley Road,
Right.
that is MnDOT right away.
That would be MnDOT's.
Smiley Road,
Right now.
part of that's on MnDOT right away, part of it's on the new parcel with the American National Bank.
Intersection, if it went this way, would be within MnDOT's right-of-way.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that MnDOT's going to ask any difference.
No.
Who would, just out of curiosity, who would make the determination at some point in time that Smiley Road coming from the south and from the north, as it would tie into 13, has to be eliminated or closed off? Would that be county or MnDOT or both or either or?
It can be both. I can tell you, MnDOT would love to see those accesses disappear next to their intersection.
Sure.
However, they don't have control of that access as it is, as a right-in, right-out. They can carry the median back through, so they can force them to be right-in, right-outs. And that be in conjunction with the county, working with the county. So they definitely could become right-in, right-outs. I have not seen MnDOT in over 35 years, even with all the discussions we've had. Many similar intersections, because this is not uncommon. St. Cloud, Minneapolis, all the way up, Brainerd, where there's access this close that they've shut it off without a local solution.
Okay. Any track record or history as far with MnDOT that you're aware of, Ron or Steve, with Smiley Road being in MnDOT's right-of-way, that they would say, no, no, you can't, you have to take those out, we don't want those? Do they have a history of that sort of thing, or if it's there? Because just by looking at the map, it appears, there's good chunks of Smiley Road that are in MnDOT's right-of-way.
Yes.
And so do they have a history of leaving things as they are? Unless they're expanding to a 6-lane or something like that. Any history that you could share with us, experience?
The history is, unless they're doing a major expansion to 371 or doing some other type of intersection modification, they'll probably leave them with some distress.
Sure.
They know how it works, and politically, they're connected too. Because if they need to work with the locals, they work with the counties, they work with the cities to come up with solutions. So I would say they're not going to kick you out of there right away unless they need to do an expansion, or they force their own project to do intersection revision, which would be moving those further back. I wouldn't say we're at that point by any means at this one. I've seen a lot worse intersections that had to be dealt with.
Okay.
And it gets into millions of dollars when you start dictating to the businesses where they need to go and changing the city right away.
Okay. John, you've been pretty quiet. Any questions or?
Oh, no. Don really asked the one question I had was the money, but Ron answered that. It sounds to me like, with the exception of lane changes, east and westbound, and some signal changes, that Smiley Road will continue to operate as is for now.
It can, yes.
And then I think we're at a point where we just need to let the business owners, the individual people, talk with them, the engineers get together, Tom and our people get together and bring it back to us with what owners' inputs are, stuff.
Just a question on public information for people involved. Are you planning on some public meetings, and if so, do you have any dates or anything at this point?
Or approximately how far out they might be.
We do not have any dates set, and we've been debating. Basically, we've been discussing, it's probably better to sit down with the property owners one-on-one in this location rather than have a big public meeting, and then work with the city council publicly on what we bring back from that resolution. So I think it'll be just as effective just to meet with the property owners. And basically, we'll see how that process goes, and if we need to do a larger public meeting, we can in conjunction with the city. So with the city process, the county does need, as we move through the project, so part of our task is to come back with costs, the cost participation, look at that policy and see what those costs will be once we have a preferred concept. So we haven't done that to this point. It will be curb and gutter, there may be some storm sewer, some of the drainage percentages split up. I think that's in the policy, and I don't know what the signal is exactly. So there will be some costs, but I know, talking with both Tim and Rob and Steve, they're looking at allowing the city to have a payment plan on those numbers, and we'll be negotiating those. And then the other thing to move through with MnDOT approval on a state aid route is municipal consent. So it'll approve the project as it's laid out.
What is the schedule for the county commissioners then when they look at this project? Are they going to be giving their approval early next year for next year, or what's the status of that?
Well, it is in the 5-year plan, so it has been an approved project to move forward.
So they don't have...
If there was right of way to be purchased, they would have to, approve that resolution to acquire the right of way.
But nothing right now?
No.
Okay.
Looks like you got, I'm looking at the schedule, project schedule, looks like you're hoping to get this out for bids by January 21 of next year. Is that, or am I reading it wrong?
That might be pushing it.
That's pushing it. We're probably looking at more in the end of March, early April.
Okay.
For bidding.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Ron and Steve?
I'm good.
Okay. I think, any other questions from the audience this evening? I'd make a motion, or I'd ask for go ahead, Steve.
If the business owners want to sign their name on here and contact, we can get hold of you. Pass it around.
That'll make it easier. Otherwise, we need to seek you out, which we can do it too. So, if you are here tonight and you want to get together, I prefer you want to get together. Give us your name and number, contact, and get a hold of you. Get that set up.
Okay.
We'll probably look at having some of those meetings here at City Hall too, if it's okay, Jenny. So.
Absolutely.
Well, Jenny?
If the council would like, we can give you an update in the council packet for September 19th, what meetings have taken place, any changes to more information to this.
I would appreciate updates anytime you get information.
Okay.
Yep. It doesn't have to be a lot, but just a sentence or two.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
If the engineers are getting together and talk with the other engineers, if we could know when those meetings are being held, that might be helpful too.
Well, if there's nothing further, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Meeting is officially ended. Thank you, everyone, for coming and participating. If you have any questions for Ron, Steve, or the council before you leave, please come see us.